When George Orwell wrote 1984, he wasn't just imagining a dystopian future. He was exploring how power could shape society, how information, language, and surveillance could influence the way people think. Decades later, some of the ideas in the novel feel disturbingly familiar. Here are 3 predictions from 1984 that seem closer to reality than Orwell could have imagined. In the world of 1984, citizens live under constant surveillance. Massive telescreens observe people everywhere, at home, at work, even in public spaces. The presence of Big Brother creates a powerful psychological effect. People behave as if they are always being watched, because they might be. Another powerful idea in 1984 is the concept of newspeak. Newspeak is a language designed to limit thought. Instead of expanding vocabulary, the government removes words from the language. Because if a word does not exist, the idea becomes harder to express. George Orwell understood something profound. Language shapes the way people think. If language becomes smaller, the range of possible ideas becomes smaller too. Perhaps the most disturbing idea in 1984 is the control of history. In the novel, Winston works at the Ministry of Truth. His job is simple. He rewrites the past. Newspapers, documents, and historical records are constantly edited, so that the government is always right. Orwell captured this idea in one of the most famous lines of the novel: "Who controls the past controls the future." If people cannot trust history, they lose the ability to question power. George Orwell did not try to predict the future with perfect accuracy. Instead, he revealed patterns of power that can emerge in any society. And that may be the reason why 1984 still feels so relevant today. The real question is not whether Orwell predicted the future. The real question is this: do you think the warnings of 1984 are becoming reality today? Because many of the mechanisms Orwell imagined no longer belong only to fiction, they exist around us, in quieter, subtler forms. Surveillance is no longer limited to governments. Today, billions of cameras, devices, and networks observe everyday life, often in the name of security, sometimes in the name of convenience, and sometimes without us even noticing. Language is also changing. Public debates grow shorter. Complex ideas are reduced to slogans. Nuance disappears, and the space for deep thinking becomes smaller. But perhaps the most powerful idea in 1984 was not surveillance, and not even newspeak. It was the control of reality itself. In Orwell's world, truth was not something discovered, it was something decided. If the party said 2 + 2 = 5, then 2 + 2 = 5. The past could be erased, documents rewritten, memories replaced, and eventually, people would forget that the truth had ever been different. This was the true power of the party. Not simply controlling people, but controlling the way people understood reality. That is why 1984 still matters today. Not because it predicted the future perfectly, but because it warned us about how fragile truth can be, and how easily freedom can disappear when people stop questioning power. In the world of 1984, Winston Smith works inside the Ministry of Truth. His job is simple: rewrite the past. When the party makes a mistake, old newspapers are edited. Predictions that failed are erased. Speeches are corrected. Photographs are altered. And the original records are destroyed. History becomes something flexible, something that can be reshaped whenever power requires it. Orwell understood something profound. Control of information is control of reality. Today, we live in what many scholars call the post-truth era, a time when objective facts sometimes matter less than emotional narratives. Information moves at incredible speed. News spreads through social networks. Millions of people share stories before verifying them. And once an idea spreads widely enough, it begins to feel true, even if it isn't. This is where the concept of fake news becomes important. False or misleading information can circulate faster than accurate reporting. Algorithms amplify what attracts attention, not necessarily what is correct. And when competing versions of reality appear everywhere, people begin to doubt everything. In 1984, the party solves this problem by controlling information completely. In our world, the situation is different. No single authority rewrites all history. But the overwhelming volume of information creates a new challenge. When truth competes with thousands of distorted versions of itself, the result can feel strangely similar. Reality becomes fragmented, and people begin to live inside different versions of the world. Another unexpected legacy of Orwell's novel appears in modern entertainment. In 1984, the most feared symbol of the regime is Big Brother, a mysterious leader whose face appears on giant screens. Citizens are constantly reminded, "Big Brother is watching you." The phrase became one of the most famous warnings in modern literature. Yet decades later, something curious happened. The name Big Brother was adopted by reality television. In these shows, participants live together inside a house. Cameras record their lives 24 hours a day. Millions of viewers watch their conversations, their conflicts, and their daily routines. The idea that once represented totalitarian surveillance became entertainment. People volunteer to be observed, and audiences enjoy watching them. This transformation reveals something fascinating about modern culture. Surveillance did not disappear. It changed form. Instead of being imposed by force, it is sometimes embraced willingly. Social media intensified this phenomenon. The idea that once represented totalitarian surveillance became entertainment. People document their own lives online. Meals, relationships, opinions, routines. We build public versions of ourselves, and millions of strangers observe them. In a strange way, the world imagined by Orwell did not arrive exactly as he described it, but fragments of it appear in unexpected places, even in our entertainment. The idea that once represented totalitarian surveillance became entertainment. The influence of 1984 extends far beyond literature. Its themes echo through many films and television stories. One striking example is The Truman Show. In that film, the protagonist lives his entire life inside a television program. Every moment of his existence is broadcast to the world. Hidden cameras observe him constantly. His environment is carefully controlled. And even the people around him are actors. The difference, of course, is that Truman does not know he is being watched, but the audience does. The film raises an unsettling question. What happens when observation becomes entertainment? Another influential film is V for Vendetta. Inspired by dystopian themes similar to Orwell's vision, it depicts a society dominated by surveillance, propaganda, and manipulated news. The government controls information. Fear becomes a political tool. And citizens slowly lose the ability to question authority. Even modern science fiction series like Black Mirror explore similar anxieties. Technology expands human power, but it also creates new forms of control, new ways to manipulate perception, and new dangers for personal freedom. These stories exist because Orwell's ideas still resonate. They remind us that technology alone does not determine the future. Human choices do. The world of 1984 is extreme, a totalitarian state, a single ruling party, absolute control of information. But the novel was never meant to be a precise prediction. It was a warning about how fragile truth can be, how easily language can be manipulated, how power can reshape reality when people stop questioning authority. Today, we do not live in Orwell's exact dystopia, but many of the forces he described still exist. Surveillance technologies continue to grow. Information spreads faster than ever. Truth competes with endless versions of itself. And the struggle to understand reality has become more complex than ever before. That is why 1984 remains one of the most discussed novels of the modern age. Not because it predicted everything, but because it teaches us something essential. Freedom depends on the ability to question what we are told. And the moment we stop questioning, the world Orwell feared becomes a little closer.